Hello, Internet. How's it going? Welcome to another episode of the John Graves Show. This is one of those normal conversations, again, which that, I'm sort of torn between, not really. It's like I'm on the fence again of me and millions of other people out there that we have to make videos to actually defend our hobby. And in case of those out there you don't necessarily know, Matthew Hagee, who was being being interviewed up on RWW News, where they were talking about gun violence and talking about the Second Amendment and going on three major things in which that they talked about. The first two were the Second Amendment. The second one was that gun violence is pretty much everywhere around the world, and also number three is that video games simulate gun attacks. So why don't we ban them? Okay, jumping on the first one, the Second Amendment. Sure, you can they did say that they had the Second Amendment right, but you have to realize something. That shit came out back in like the fucking 1700s. So really when you think about it, no, it wasn't. Or at least like that thing fit the time, which is the thing that a lot of people that they don't necessarily realize now is that whenever you go back and you look at specific constitutions and like specific rights about like a very specific thing, you have to realize that those were made to fit the time and what they had to go through. Meaning that, honestly, I don't think a lot of people actually really take note to the whole part of a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And what that pretty much means is that, remember that thing that they taught us back in back in elementary school, of them talking about the Minutemen and talking about how that Britain was pretty much trying, man, to have all these tactics to come over and try and reclaim us after we tried to become an independent nation, and they didn't like that, and then we had a war. Remember that? I mean, honestly, that was the major point of the Second Amendment, of pretty much saying that, okay, these fuckers can pretty much come over and that they can still like attack us again. Honestly, that fucking doesn't mean, man, that man, any fucking dumbass out there, man, who fucking, man, like, yes, man, like a conceal and carry license and shit, can't fucking go out and grab a gun, or fucking, man, like, say that, like, okay, I'm an old person and my house is like this and that. It's like, that's not why that shit's there. Alright, you can't fucking do that there. I mean, like, yes, you can carry a gun. It is in your right to do so, but honestly, it's like, that's a very, that's a law that has to change, because realistically speaking, this is honestly the reason, man, why, man, we do have as many mass shootings as we fucking do today. And getting into this whole second portion of this, I will actually link this down there in the description, from the Wall Street Journal, that came out, I believe, like, when the fuck did this thing come out? It came out a few days ago, okay? And pretty much looking at the mass shootings, alright, the United States stands upwards to 133, whereas every other nation in which that they've pretty much explained, China, Australia, Mexico, Canada, Russia, England, Argentina, South Africa, Germany, Israel, Switzerland, Finland, and Norway, all of theirs is under the number. With the exception of Germany, all of their mass shootings is under 5. Okay, some of them even don't even go past 2. I mean, like, Germany only stops at 6. We stop at 133, okay? And even if you add all that shit up, okay? I mean, listen, if you add all that shit up, that fucking nowhere near like touches, man, like a half of a fraction of what like of how much like shit that we cause with guns. And yes, I do understand that there are other nations out there that fucking like have no guns, and yet they have a fucking lower crime rate. Now, I'm not saying that their crime, that man, like it doesn't exist, and some criminals out there that man, even in these nations, that they can still get guns. Of course they can. But honestly, you need to put this shit into fucking perspective here. Okay? Is that like, we have that shit up on like a regular. They have that shit every fucking blue moon. So yeah, these are two different things. And also jumping into like his final statement of saying that if you put a kid in a cockpit, or at least like put a pilot into into a simulator, and then like that teaches them how, man, to like fly a plane, then they'll know how to fly a plane. Not necessarily, because I've gone to plenty of arcades, and I really doubt that the thing that I'm in is really going to simulate me being in a fucking like being in a actual motorcycle. Or like I've been in like some of those like car simulator those racing car simulators and shit, the ones that actually move and jerk about as you drive in it. Realistically, sure, you can say that can teach you how, or at least that can give you a feeling of how to drive, but that's not going to teach you how to drive, because like actually driving is very different from actually being from actually being in that type of machine. So really, those are two different things. I mean, like with you saying that, I mean, sure. I mean, like me playing like a first-person shooter game, or at least like me playing like a rail shooter game like House of the Dead. Sure, I know the fundamentals of like firing a gun, but I'm like, that's a very different ball game when like you actually have a gun in your hand, and then like because like a bullet is no fucking joke, especially depending upon like if you're dealing with shotguns, rifles, or other different things. A video game cannot prepare you for fucking everything. I mean, and realistically speaking, pulling a trigger really isn't all that fucking difficult anyway. But I'm like, listen, me fucking playing, man, like Call of Duty, or me playing Destiny, or me playing Borderlands and shit, and me pushing the fucking square button to fucking reload, that's not showing me how to fucking like change a clip, like know how to, man, like disassemble a gun and fucking, man, like put all the pieces together. That's not teaching me that. But I guess that's just sort of how, man, he wanted to say that. To close this out, really, video games really aren't the evil bastions in which that people fucking think that they are. Because listen, as I always say, if they ban video games, if they ban violent movies, if they ban like violent music, if they ban violent images, if they ban like all this other shit, and we're running around like man, it's supposed to be like 1950, like an I Love Lucy movie or TV series, or like some shit like that. Like, what in the fuck do they think that is going to happen? Do you really think that man, just because like you shut all this stuff away, that man, nobody's really gonna have any more problems anymore? Problems come like in any shape or form, and yes, gun violence is a very, very, very problem. It's a very stark problem in which that we can, like plenty of us can actually do now and take care of that shit, but nobody wants to do it, because that's just the nation in which that we fucking live in. But that is what I gotta say about that. Please keep watching anime, keep playing video games. I'll see you guys next time. And guns will never leave the United States, because we are the type of assholes in which that once you give us something, we got that shit forever. But I'll see you next time. I'm out.